1987 Topps Baseball Cards, 25 Most Valuable, plus bonus listings. There is no more iconic symbol of the hobby's 1980s boom years than a stack or box or a binder full of 1987 Topps baseball cards. From the moment prototypes of these wood-grain beauties hit the hobby press circuit late in 1986, collectors have gravitated to the pasteboards that were once throwbacks to an earlier era, 1962 Topps in particular, and a testament to the new world of collecting, massive overproduction, and near ubiquitous availability. There's plenty to be learned about the infamous love 'em or hate 'em Woodies by stepping through a list of the most valuable members checklist, and you can get a heavy dose of nostalgia by reconsidering the players involved. So that's exactly what we'll do here, focusing on cards in PSA 9 condition since that's the most common grade that PSA has handed out for these classics. Without further ado then, here are the 25 most valuable 1987 Topps baseball cards, in reverse order, and with a couple of bonus runs tagged on for good measure. 35 cards in all. Number 25. 1987 Topps Wade Boggs, number 150. Wade Boggs was coming off his third American League batting title and second of 4 in a row when this card was issued. Yet it was his glove that Topps featured on this card, along with a happy smile. That glove would turn gold later in his career with the Yankees, and Boggs would sail into the Hall of Fame on his first ballot in 2005. Today, his 1987 Topps card sells in the $10 to $13 range in PSA 9 condition. Number 24. 1987 Topps Tony Gwynn, number 530. Like Boggs, Tony Gwynn had already established himself as one of the game's pure hitters by 1987, and though he only had just one batting crown under his belt at that point, he would capture another that summer with an amazing .370 average. Before all was said and done, Mr. Padre would add 6 more National League batting titles, 8 total, and amass a 3,141 hits en route to a forever home in Cooperstown. Today, Gwynn's 1987 Topps card checks in at about $10 in graded mint condition. Number 23. 1987 Topps Roger Clemens, number 340. In 1986, Roger Clemens broke out like few pitchers before or since. 24-4, 2.48 ERA, 238 strikeouts. He even added the first 20 strikeout game for good measure. By the next spring, his cards were among the hottest in the hobby, and they maintain a strong collector base today, even after all the backlash surrounding his association with PEDs. Expect to pay $10 to $15 for a 1987 Topps Clemens in slabbed mint condition. Number 22. 1987 Topps Don Mattingly All-Star, number 606. Don Mattingly crashed the baseball scene with his unexpected run to a batting title in 1984, taking down Yankees teammate Dave Winfield in the process. And his meteoric rise took his 1984 Donruss rookie card with him, changing the hobby forever. Donnie Baseball followed that up with an MVP season in 1985 and an arguably even better performance in 1986. He was the hottest name in the game and the hottest cardboard in the hobby. Today, this version of his 1987 Topps All-Star card will set you back about $10 to $12 in PSA 9 condition, but there's another. You'll just have to wait to see what that is. Number 21. After showing Clemens and the rest of the world that it really was possible to go 24-4 in 1985, Dwight Gooden slipped to just 17-9 with a 2.84 ERA in 1986 at age 21. The world was still his oyster. And even though the pearl of his career turned out to have more than a few blemishes, the weight of years has restored or at least maintained a bit of luster his cards once used to blaze through the hobby. Today, Doc's 1987 Topps card is another $10 to $15 buy in PSA 9 condition. Number 20. 1987 Topps Dale Murphy, number 490. In 1986, Dale Murphy turned 30 years old and sort of had a down year for him, by falling below 30 home runs, 100 RBI, 10 stolen bases, and a .270 average for the first time since 1981. The year after the strike-shortened season, of course, Murphy won the first of 2 consecutive National League MVP awards and set himself on the path towards Cooperstown. And after a down year in 1986, the Braves legend bounced right back in 1987 with a .295, 44 home run, 105 RBI in the year of the Slugger to set the world right again. As things would turn out, that would be Murphy's last really big year, and his Hall of Fame train kind of went off the tracks as he moved deeper into his 30s. All these years later, though, Murphy still has plenty of supporters and may yet get the call, depending on how the Eras Committee votes over the next several years. In the hobby, Murphy's popularity has never really waned, and today his 87 Topps issue is about a $15 card in PSA 9 condition. Number 19. 1987 Topps RUBEN Sierra, number 261. RUBEN Sierra, on the other hand, was definitely on the upswing as the 1987 season dawned. Playing the 1986 campaign at just 20 years of age, Sierra clubbed 16 home runs and showed flashes of becoming an all-around talent. He eventually fulfilled much of that promise, even if he never quite lived up to the next name your hero hype. And he played long enough to keep his rookie card percolating all along the way. Today, expect price tags in the $10 to $15 range for graded mint copies. Number 18. 1987 Topps Barry Larkin, number 648. A couple of years older than Sierra, Barry Larkin found himself in a pack of stout middle infield prospects for the Reds when he debuted in the second half of the 1986 season, but it didn't take long for him to claim the shortstop role all for his own. He wouldn't let that go for another 18 years, garnering a World Series ring in 1990, a National League MVP trophy in 1996, 3 Gold Gloves, 9 Silver Sluggers, and 12 All-Star nods before all was said and done. And then 5 years after all was said and done, Cincy's hometown captain picked up his Cooperstown plaque. Today, collectors are still picking up his Topps rookie card to the tune of $10 to $15 in PSA 9 condition. Number 17. 1987 Topps Kirby Puckett, number 450. After a couple of so-so seasons in Minnesota, the twin spark plug erupted for 31 home runs, 96 RBI, and .328 batting average. That performance propelled his 1985 rookie cards out of the commons bin and set up a decades-long love affair between collectors and Puck. Today, Kirby Puckett's 1987 Topps card is another $10 to $15 buy in slabbed mint condition. Number 16. 1987 Topps Jim Rice, number 480. There were no more feared hitters in baseball than Jim Rice during his prime with the Red Sox during the late 1970s and early 1980s. And even though he declined fairly quickly and steadily in his 30s, Rice did enough to get into the Hall of Fame, whether you agree with that decision or not, and maintains a strong fan base today. Expect prices in the $10 to $20 range for Jim Ed and his grainy goodness when graded in 9. Number 15. 1987 Topps Rickey Henderson, number 735. It didn't matter where you put Rickey Henderson, West Coast, East Coast, Canada. Mr. Hot Dog was always among the greatest players on the field. Here he sparkles in Yankee pinstripes under the eternal sunshine of a baseball game captured in cardboard summer. It's a solid $15 card in PSA 9 condition. Number 14. 1987 Topps Roger Clemens Record Breaker, number 1. This card commemorates the aforementioned 20 strikeout game, a feat Topps thought enough of to slot leadoff in what would become one of the most iconic sets of all time. And while you don't usually find record breaker cards on lists like this, the Rocket and his amazing career and single game record put this one on just about equal footing with his base card from the same set. This Clemens pasteboard is a $12 to $15 buy today in graded mint condition. Number 13. 1987 Topps Mark McGwire, number 366. Heading into 1987, most collectors knew Mark McGwire as just another young guy who had appeared on one of those oddball Team USA cards in the 1985 Topps set. He certainly wasn't as well known or well regarded among casual fans and collectors at least, as his teammate Jose Canseco. But when Donruss made him a rated rookie, we started to take notice. And when McGwire became Big Mac, a founding member of the Bash Brothers, on his way to the then record-breaking 49 home runs, we went bonkers. For the first time, the slugger who would eventually break Roger Maris's single-season home run record during a breathtaking chase with Sammy Sosa in 1998 was a hobby darling. And yes, McGwire's star crashed to the ground as the face of baseball's PED scandal, but his cards hold a certain kind of mystique even all these years later. This Woody rookie card is a pretty steady $15 seller in PSA 9 condition. Number 12. 1987 Topps Don Mattingly, number 500. Mattingly's base card in the 1987 Topps set is about as simple as it gets. A well-framed photo of one of baseball's great hitters standing in the batter's box, waiting for a pitch. There's nothing to distract your eye from the essence of the game other than maybe wondering who those New Yorkers are in the stands behind him. Add in the iconic wood borders and Yankee pinstripes, and you have a classic that hits $15 and PSA 9 most of the time. Number 11. 1987 Topps Gary Carter, number 20. In December of 1984, the New York Mets traded Hubie Brooks, Mike Fitzgerald, Herm Winningham, and Floyd Youmans to the Montreal Expos in exchange for All-Star catcher Gary Carter. It made sense. After all, Rookie of the Year showings by Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden in 1983 and 1984 helped turn the Mets into surprise contenders later that summer, and they were ready to go all in. With Carter behind the plate, the New York Mets improved to 98 wins in 1985, but had to settle for second place in the old National League East. In 1986, though, the Mets ran away with the division, took out a tough Houston Astros team in the NLCS, and outlasted the Boston Red Sox in a 7-game win series for the ages. Along the way, Carter solidified himself as one of the game's great on-field leaders and a Hall of Fame catcher, starting more than 130 games each season and driving in 100-plus runs in both to boot. Today, this action-packed shot of Carter in his Mets glory sells for $16 or more in PSA 9 condition. Number 10. 1987 Topps Jose Canseco, number 620. This was one of the hottest cards right out of the pack in the spring of 1987, thanks to Jose Canseco's Rookie of the Year campaign in 1986. And even though he had to claw a bit to get out of McGwire's big shadow that summer, Jose was never far behind in the limelight. Like so many other phenoms, Canseco ultimately fell short of the Ruthian projections we had for him, but he has maintained enough hobby swagger for his first Topps base card to carry a $15 to $20 price tag in PSA 9 today. Number 9. 1987 Topps Eric Davis, number 412. It didn't take Reds fans long to realize that Eric Davis could do just about anything on the baseball diamond, from swatting big flies to chasing down big flies to outrunning big-armed outfielders on the base path. It took us just a few blinks of an eye longer to realize that staying on the field would be his challenge, and that one would ultimately get the better of him. Still, for all that promise, and for all that realized glory, and for the star-level career numbers he turned in, ED is still a popular figure in the hobby. This, his third Topps card, sells for close to $20 in slabbed mint condition, most of the time. Number 8. 1987 Topps Cal Ripken, number 784. By the time Cal's sixth Topps base card, this one that is, was issued, people were already talking about the streak. Truth is, though, Ripken was less than halfway to Lou Gehrig's record of 2,130 consecutive games played, even after 1987 concluded. Standing between Cal and the new mark were some really lean years for the Orioles, a second American League MVP award for Ripken, the strike of 1994-95, and all the usual pitfalls that await baseball players every time they take the field. Iron Cal persevered through it all, and when he claimed the record in 1995, all of baseball could feel the magic of the moment. Today, Cal Ripken is still an all-time favorite, even long after he's hung up his spikes and collected his Cooperstown plaque. This classic Woody checks in at $17 or more in PSA 9. Number 7. 1987 Topps Nolan Ryan, number 757. Even deep into his career, and even as the owner of baseball's all-time strikeout record, pitcher division, Nolan Ryan was still something of a wild card to many fans and pundits in 1987. Sure, he could bring the heat like few others, but what else? Well, as it turned out, Nolan could bring the heat like forever, and he could also throw a no-hitter just about any time he took the mound. When he finally retired after the 1993 season, Ryan had obtained the K record book and locked down 7 no-nos. He's also locked down his status as the biggest name in the game and the hobby, a perch that has slipped only the slightest bit in the last 3 decades. You can bet Ryan will appear on just about any most valuable list that you can concoct, and he clocks in here at around $20 in graded mint condition. Number 6. 1987 Topps Pete Rose, number 200. Entering the 1987 season, Pete Rose had nothing left to prove as a player on the field, so he gave up that half of his player/manager duties for the Reds. Even so, Topps granted him a rare career capper, as well as a manager card in their grainy 1987 set. The perk of being an all-time hit king, I suppose. Of course, even that hit king title couldn't keep Rose out of trouble once his betting scandal broke a couple of years later, and Pete still remains on the outside of Cooperstown's hallowed halls today. But he also remains a hobby favorite, and his cards have all jumped in value along with the rest of the market during the pandemic era. The volatility of opinion surrounding Charlie Hustle is reflected in a wide range of prices for his 1987 Topps cards, $12 to $20 in PSA 9. Number 5. 1987 Topps, Tom Seaver, number 425. Tom Seaver, meanwhile, has been about as steady of a superstar as you'll ever find, both in terms of his on-field domination and his popularity among fans and hobbyists, almost since his debut with the New York Mets in 1967. Following that Rookie of the Year performance, it was all up for Tom Terrific, and he ranks among the top couple handful of starting pitchers to ever tread the mound, no matter how you slice and dice his numbers. Seaver's cards got another boost in popularity when the Hall of Famer passed away in August of 2020, and today his 1987 Topps issue sells in the $17 to $25 range when graded in PSA 9. Number 4. 1987 Topps Will Clark, number 420. Will Clark debuted with the Giants in 1986, carrying all the expectations that came along with being the number 2 overall draft pick and a standout performer for Team USA in the 1984 Olympics. The thrill didn't disappoint either, finishing 5th in Rookie of the Year balloting at the head of a 15-year career that saw his sweet lefty swing crank out 2,176 hits, 284 home runs, and a .303 batting average. Clark's pretty gritty style of play and his staunch anti-steroid stance has made him a fan favorite still, and a constant feature in discussions around Hall of Fame snubs. Players with lesser resumes have already made it into the Cooperstown cut, so you never know what the Eras Committee will have in store for Clark in the coming years. For now, his 1987 Topps rookie card is a hobby classic and sells for right around $20 in PSA 9 condition most of the time. Number 3. 1987 Topps Mike Schmidt, number 430. By almost any measure, Mike Schmidt is the greatest third baseman to ever lace up spikes. Though there are arguments to be made for contemporary George Brett, and his fans will make them fervently, the truth is that Brett played more than a third of his games somewhere other than third base. Befitting a 3-time MVP and 500 home run man, Schmidt has been a popular hobby figure for decades, even if he never made a run at records or streaks that propelled him to the top of the then current hot lists. For his steady greatness, though, Schmidt still packs a wallop among collectors, and his 1987 Topps card fetches $20 or so in PSA 9 condition today. Number 2. 1987 Topps Barry Bonds, number 329. Barry Bonds probably doesn't much care what you or I think of him, and neither do his numbers. And those numbers, along with the show Bonds put on over his entire course of his career, tells us that the man is one of the greatest hitters to step into the batter's box. Would those arcade stats have looked so superhuman without whatever help Bonds sought out beyond the customary 3 squares? Undoubtedly not, but even with all that controversy, collectors still have found a place in their budgets for Bonds cards. Today, his Topps card is a $20 to $25 buy in PSA 9 condition, and you have to figure it'll go up, at least relative to cards around it, if Cooperstown ever comes calling. Number 1. 1987 Topps Bo Jackson, number 170. Bo Jackson was one of the most exciting athletes of his generation, and one of the most popular men to ever trod the diamond. With all the talent in the world, Bo seemed destined for greatness in both the NFL and the MLB, and he realized a big chunk of all that potential before a hip injury felled him in the 1991 playoff game with the Raiders. Though Bo eventually made it back to the White Sox, he was never quite the same, and retired from baseball during the player strike of 1994-95. Right from the beginning, though, the mystique around Jackson as a two-sport star and the hype that naturally surrounds a Heisman Trophy winner grabbing a bat had collectors frothing for his cards. Little has changed on that front today, some 3 decades after his final at-bat, and his 1987 Topps card tops our list, batting for supremacy with bonds in the $20 to $25 range for specimens graded in PSA 9. Honorable mentions. There are so many popular cards in the 1987 Topps set that you just never know which one will break out in a specific auction, or even in a more general way, to crack the ranks of our top 25. Some of them have already done that on occasion, sort of skewering their solid dollar amounts and making it tough to rank them overall. Our list shows the cards that sell for consistently high values, relatively speaking, and also with decent overall sales volume. What follows are the breakthrough cards that have shown spikes here and there and have either changed hands infrequently or exhibit wide fluctuation in pricing. Here then are our most valuable 1987 Topps cards, most honorable mentions. 1987 Topps Don Mattingly All-Star, no trademark on front, number 606. At long last, we've come to rest on the story as it pertains to the Don Mattingly All-Star card. See our previous entry, way back. There's not a lot of intrigue here, just missing the trademark TM under the American League Eagles wing on the front left-hand corner of the card that makes this one a bit more scarce than the corrected version. And while the Dwight Gooden All-Star can be found in 2 variations too, and while there are many other minor variations in the issue, this Mattingly is the only one that's accrued much extra value. Expect prices around $25 if you find a copy in PSA 9 condition. 1987 Topps Ozzie Smith, number 749. Ozzie Smith was always a magician at shortstop, but what's often overlooked in his game is that he continued to mature as a hitter throughout much of his career. It sort of all came together in 1987 when the Wizard hit .300 for the only time in his career and finished second in the National League MVP voting to Andre Dawson as the Cardinals copped yet another pennant. While this card is nowhere near a rookie card and can often be found for $15 or less, it's not all that unusual for it to pop up in the $20 neighborhood for a PSA 9. Not surprising really, as few cards invoke the 1980s hobby feel better than a woody-grained Ozzie. 1987 Topps Bobby Bonilla, number 184. Bobby Bonilla became the butt of all sorts of jokes thanks to his late career nosedive and the Mets contract that paid him like forever. But the truth is Bonilla was a legitimate superstar with the Pirates, and there was a real debate about who would be the better player, Bonilla or Bonds. In the end, Bobby Bo's resume could boast more than 2,000 hits, nearly 300 home runs, and a spot in the hobby that just won't ever completely wither away. Today, his Topps rookie card can fetch as much as $15 in PSA 9 condition. 1987 Topps Keith Hernandez, number 350. How does Keith Hernandez push a late career card into the discussion like this one without the benefit of a Hall of Fame plaque? Well, he's Keith Hernandez for one thing. And he's a key part of those great mid-1980s Mets teams for another. And he was also the co-MVP with Willie Stargell of the National League in 1979. And he was also one of the greatest first basemen, fielding-wise, of all time. And while this card doesn't change hands that often in PSA 9, but when it does, all those factors usually add up to double-digit dollar amounts. Go figure. 1987 Topps Jamie Moyer, number 227. If you were the 1986 Chicago Cubs, which line would have you more excited about the future? Pitcher A, 16G, 87.1 IP, 7-4 record, 5.05 ERA, 45 SO, 42 BB. Or Pitcher B, 6G, 31 IP, 2-4 record, 5.52 ERA, 20 SO, and 11 B. If it helps your decision-making at all, Pitcher A was a 23-year-old left-hander, and Pitcher B was a 20-year-old right-hander. So, yeah, tough call at that early stage, but based solely on those numbers. But given the card, you probably surmise that Pitcher A was Jamie Moyer, and his honorable mention here has almost nothing to do with what he did for the Cubs. Nope, the Ancient Mariner is here by virtue of late career resurgence and subsequent 11-year run with Seattle that kept him in the majors long enough to spur plenty of reanimator rumors. Since Geritol is probably not on baseball's banned substance list, though, Moyer's 269 victories spread over 74 years in the bigs continues to spur the imagination. Enough for this card to run up double-digit figure sales in PSA 9. And player B? He headlines our list of most valuable 1987 Topps traded baseball cards. While our baseball cards came fully loaded with big-name rookies in 1987, our on-field choices were decidedly less exciting, especially if you were into anticipation. I mean, sure, Big Mac lit up the Northern Hemisphere with his mega-wattage power, but we already had his rookie cards at our waxy fingertips, thanks to Topps and Donruss. And after Paul Bunyan, the fireworks fell off pretty quickly, with Kevin Seitzer and Matt Noakes finishing second and third in the American League Rookie of the Year voting. In the National League, the top first-year men were Benito Santiago, Mike Dwayne, and Joe McGrain. All fine players with nice or better careers in front of them, but none of them really revved up collectors' hearts and minds, and some of them already had rookie cards to boot. Heading into the end-of-season traded/update sets, the biggest draws were probably Seitzer, thanks to his high batting average of .323, and Noakes, thanks to his unexpected power surge of 32 home runs. And sure, there were plenty of odds and ends here and there that piqued our interest too. The first Fleer McGuire card, the first Top Santiago card, and the ever-coveted Top Trebelhorn manager card. And by and large, though, the 1987 Topps traded set just wasn't all that exciting, leaving us to hope that someone would break out down the road and add some fire to this thing. And wouldn't you know it, Pitcher B burned the whole place down. 1987 Topps traded Greg Maddux, number 70T. Looking at those early cards of Jamie Moyer and Greg Maddux, you could probably be forgiven for thinking they showed the same dude, or mirror images of the same dude. With the benefit of hindsight, though, and with the benefit of Maddux having shown his adolescent eyebrow on his lip, we can now see the difference between the two as clear as day. Greg Maddux is one of the greatest pitchers of all time, while Jamie Moyer is one of the most I need a walker to get to the mound pitchers of all time. Topps whiffed on Maddux in their 1987 base set, but nabbed the youngster for their traded set, creating a card that would be worth $20 to $25 in PSA 9 condition nearly 35 years on. And that's now, in case you weren't mathing. 1987 Topps traded Fred McGriff, number 74T. Donruss totally scooped their competitors by making Fred McGriff a rated rookie in 1986. By the time Topps and Fleer caught up, nearly 2 full years had passed, and Crime Dog had knocked his first 20 of his 493 career homers. It's a pretty good bet that the Blue Jays, Padres, Braves standout would already be in the Hall of Fame had he nailed those extra 7 dingers to take him to 500. But it's also a decent bet that the Eras Committee will come through for him one of these years. As things stand now, that 1987 Topps traded FTC, or first Topps card, of his falls in the $10 to $15 range when presented in PSA 9 condition. 1987 Topps traded Reggie Jackson, number 52T. In December of 1986, Reggie Jackson signed a free agent deal to return to his first team, the Oakland A's, for what looked like would be his major league swan song. While that turned out to be the case, not even the straw that stirs the drink, making a big move right before retirement could alter the baseball card production schedules. So Reggie appears in various 1987 base sets as a member of the California Angels. They all came around by the end of the year, though, and Jackson landed quasi-career capper cards right team incomplete stats in Donruss Opening Day, Fleer Update, and Topps Traded. And even though Fleer gave Reggie a full-blown career capper in 1988, this 1987 Topps Traded dandy is still popular with collectors today. It's worth $10 or so in PSA 9 condition. 1987 Topps Traded David Cone, number 24T. As a third-round pick out of high school in 1981, it took a bit of time for David Cone to start making a name for himself. That relative anonymity changed in a hurry, though, when Cone broke out with a 20-3 record and a 2.2 ERA in 1988, his second season with the New York Mets. There were plenty of ups and downs over the next 15 years, but Cone won the 1994 American League Cy Young Award back with his original team, the Kansas City Royals, and posted another 20-win campaign in 1998 with the World Series champion, New York Yankees. His slow-burn career, punctuated with flashes of excellence and bouts of injury/ineffectiveness, left Cone as a borderline Hall of Fame candidate and middling hobby draw. Still, his first Topps card is a $10 buy in slabbed mint shape. 1987 Topps traded Matt Williams, number 129T. The 1994 strike robbed us of plenty of good baseball, and may ultimately have led to the Montreal Expos' move to Washington, D.C., or maybe hastened it. But one guy whose excellence in that long ago summer is often overlooked is then Giants third baseman Matt Williams. With 43 home runs through 115 team games, Williams was on pace to take aim at Roger Maris's single-season record of 61 when the season went bye-bye. And if Williams had topped that mark in 1994, how do you think baseball's history would have been altered? With no need to bring fans back, would the home run chase of 1998 even have happened? Would the steroid era have even been a thing? More to the point for us here and now is, would Williams have used his new record as a springboard to a Hall of Fame career? As things stand, Williams ended up with 378 home runs and close to 50 WAR, better than some Cooperstown and Shrinees, but likely perpetually short of the mark. Even so, Williams FTC is a $10 buy in PSA 9 condition these days.